History has witnessed countless kings, emperors, and conquerors, but only one man became famous, not for conquering the world, but for conquering himself. His name was Marcus Aurelius. While all of Rome admired the crown upon his head, Marcus was searching for something far greater than power. He sought wisdom, inner peace, and mastery over his own mind. Outwardly, he was the most powerful man in the Roman Empire, yet inwardly he was simply a man striving every day to become a better version of himself. Marcus believed that the greatest battle is never fought with swords or armies. The greatest battle is the one fought against our own fears, anger, desires, and weaknesses. Standing on the highest mountains, he realized that true greatness is not measured by status or wealth, but by patience, humility, and character. Silence became his greatest teacher. While the world was consumed by noise and distraction, Marcus found clarity in solitude, where he questioned himself and searched for truth. Even during military campaigns, he carried more than weapons. He carried a deep curiosity about life, suffering, purpose, and the discipline required to endure them. Nature constantly reminded him that everything changes. The forests, the changing seasons, and the endless skies taught him that hardship is never permanent. Like every storm, every difficult moment eventually passes. Although he sat upon the throne of Rome, Marcus never allowed the throne to rule his heart. To him, humanity and virtue were far more valuable than any crown. As he watched the waves of the sea rise and fall, he understood that life moves in the same way. Every wave fades, and every hardship eventually comes to an end. Born into a respected Roman family, Marcus showed little interest in luxury from an early age. Instead, he devoted himself to learning, philosophy, and self-discipline. Harsh winters and difficult journeys became part of his upbringing, but those hardships built resilience, patience, and strength within him. As the years passed, Rome's greatest leaders began to notice his extraordinary wisdom and character. They saw in him the qualities of a future ruler unlike any before. Every journey taught Marcus another lesson. He learned that circumstances constantly change, but a strong character remains unshaken. Crossing rivers, bridges, and distant lands, he realized that the greatest destination is never a place. It is becoming a better human being. Books became his closest companions. Every page revealed something new about human nature and taught him how to strengthen his own mind. Looking upon the magnificent monuments of Rome, Marcus understood that even the greatest creations of mankind would one day turn to dust. Thunder, storms, and darkness never frightened him, because he believed that difficult times reveal the true strength hidden within every person. As the sun disappeared beyond the horizon each evening, Marcus asked himself a simple but powerful question. If today were the last day of my life, have I lived it with wisdom and virtue? Amid the crowded streets and endless activity of Rome, he discovered a timeless truth that still inspires millions today. Peace is never found in the outside world. True peace is created within. But this was only the beginning of Marcus Aurelius' journey. Fate was preparing to place him upon the throne of the Roman Empire. And from that moment forward, his life would change forever. As Marcus Aurelius grew older, his wisdom and quiet strength became known throughout Rome. People admired not only his intelligence, but also his humility, discipline, and calm nature. It seemed as though destiny was preparing him for something far greater than he could imagine. Whenever Marcus spent time in nature, he felt a deep connection with the universe. He believed that everything in existence follows a natural order, and that true wisdom comes from living in harmony with that order rather than resisting it. Rome was the greatest empire of its time, filled with merchants, philosophers, soldiers, and rulers from every corner of the known world. Instead of being distracted by its wealth and glory, Marcus carefully observed the people around him, believing that every person and every experience had something valuable to teach. Although he lived among magnificent palaces and endless luxury, he never allowed material wealth to define his life. He knew that riches, power, and fame could disappear in an instant, but virtue would remain forever. In moments of complete silence, Marcus discovered one of life's greatest truths. A person who learns to master their own mind cannot easily be shaken by the outside world. Looking across the vast frontiers of the Roman Empire, he realized that leadership was never about privilege. It was about carrying the weight of responsibility and serving millions of people with justice and compassion. As he watched golden fields stretching toward the horizon, Marcus reflected on the patience of nature. Every harvest requires time, care, and perseverance. Success, he believed, follows the same principle. Walking through the halls of the imperial palace, he understood that every decision he made could shape the future of countless lives. Even as people celebrated his achievements and praised his wisdom, Marcus refused to let admiration feed his ego. He believed that pride is one of the greatest enemies of a strong character. On clear nights beneath endless stars, he often reflected on humanity's place in the universe. Compared to the vastness of time and space, every human life is only a brief moment. Then destiny took an unexpected turn. Emperor Antoninus Pius chose Marcus Aurelius as his adopted son, placing him directly in line to inherit the Roman throne. From that day forward, every lesson became preparation for leadership. He studied philosophy, law, military strategy, justice, and the responsibilities of governing an empire. Marcus understood that power alone could never earn lasting respect. Only fairness, humility, patience, and self-control could truly unite a nation. He spent countless hours studying history, convinced that those who ignore the lessons of the past are destined to repeat its mistakes. Even while standing so close to the throne, Marcus never chased fame or personal glory. His greatest ambition was simply to become a better man each day. Then the moment finally arrived. After the death of Antoninus Pius, Marcus Aurelius became Emperor of Rome. The weight of an entire empire now rested upon his shoulders. The people expected strength, confidence, and decisive leadership. Marcus knew that true strength does not begin with controlling others. It begins with mastering yourself. Every new sunrise brought fresh challenges, difficult decisions, and impossible responsibilities. Yet he never wasted his energy complaining. Instead, he treated every obstacle as another opportunity to practice wisdom and virtue. Standing beneath the stars once again, Marcus reflected on the temporary nature of life. One day every emperor would be forgotten, every empire would fall, and every monument would crumble. Only character and wisdom have the power to outlive time itself. But the greatest trials of Marcus Aurelius's life were still ahead. War, plague, betrayal, and unimaginable hardship would soon test everything he believed. It was during these darkest years that the philosophy of Stoicism would shine brighter than ever before. No sooner had Marcus Aurelius become emperor than he was confronted with one of the greatest challenges in Rome's history. The northern borders of the empire erupted into conflict, and war became an unavoidable reality. Instead of remaining safely inside the imperial palace, Marcus chose to stand beside his soldiers on the front lines. He believed that a true leader never asks others to face dangers that he is unwilling to face himself. Every battlefield reminded him that victory always comes with sacrifice. While armies fought for land and power, Marcus understood that the greatest victories are won through justice, compassion, and self-control. During the long, cold nights inside military camps, when the sounds of battle finally faded into silence, Marcus began writing personal reflections to guide his own mind. Those private notes would later become one of history's most influential books, Meditations. He constantly reminded himself of a simple but powerful truth. You have power over your mind, not outside events. These words became his greatest source of strength through every hardship that followed. But while war continued on the frontiers, another invisible enemy swept across the empire. A devastating plague spread through Roman cities, claiming countless lives and filling families with fear and sorrow. Streets that had once been full of life became quiet, and hope seemed to disappear. Yet Marcus refused to surrender to despair. He believed that difficult times reveal the true character of every human being. Instead of spreading fear, he encouraged courage, compassion, and responsibility. Every crisis, he believed, offers another opportunity to practice virtue. Day after day, impossible decisions rested upon his shoulders. Yet Marcus never wasted time complaining about circumstances beyond his control. He focused only on what he could change: his actions, his choices, and his attitude. Standing upon the cold northern frontiers, surrounded by harsh winds and endless uncertainty, he accepted that hardship is a natural part of life. We cannot control the challenges that come our way, but we can always control how we respond to them. The freezing winters exhausted his body, but they strengthened his spirit. Marcus believed that comfort rarely builds greatness. It is adversity that shapes resilience, patience, and wisdom. Watching violent storms crash across the sea, he reminded himself that no storm lasts forever. Every difficult season eventually passes, making way for calmer days. As autumn leaves slowly fell from the trees, Marcus reflected on the constant rhythm of change. Success fades, failure fades, suffering fades, and even life itself is temporary. Accepting change, rather than fearing it, became one of the foundations of his philosophy. Whenever he returned to the palace, he remained the same humble man he had always been. The crown had changed his responsibilities, but it had never changed his character. Walking across silent battlefields after the fighting had ended, Marcus saw the true cost of war. Those empty fields reminded him that peace is humanity's greatest victory. Every difficult journey strengthened his determination. He often said that easy paths rarely produce extraordinary people. Deep within quiet forests and moments of complete solitude, Marcus found the clarity needed to continue leading an empire without losing himself. Standing atop Rome's mighty fortresses, he looked across the vast empire and understood that the greater a person's responsibility becomes, the greater their need for discipline, humility, and self-control. As he walked through the marble halls of the imperial palace, he remembered that every emperor is only a temporary guardian of history. Titles fade, kingdoms disappear, but the impact of one's character lives on. With every new sunrise, Marcus prepared himself once again, not only to face enemies beyond the empire's borders, but to continue fighting the far more important battle within himself. For he knew that conquering fear, anger, pride, and desire would always be the greatest victory of all. As the years passed, Marcus Aurelius realized that the greatest treasures in life could never be measured by wealth, power, or fame. True happiness, he believed, is born from a disciplined mind and a peaceful heart. Every ancient Roman road reminded him that life itself is a journey. What truly matters is not how far we travel, but who we become along the way. Standing beside the endless sea, Marcus watched the waves rise and fall, realizing that nature never struggles against its own course. In the same way, he believed we create unnecessary suffering whenever we resist the things we cannot control. Books remained his lifelong companions, but Marcus understood that knowledge alone has little value unless it transforms the way we live. Wisdom is not found in collecting ideas, it is found in practicing them every single day. Walking through the peaceful gardens of Rome, he reflected on the importance of gratitude. Sometimes life's greatest blessings are the simplest ones: a quiet morning, a clear mind, fresh air, or another opportunity to begin again. During long journeys across harsh deserts and rugged landscapes, Marcus learned that the hardest roads often lead to the greatest personal growth. Comfort may feel pleasant, but adversity is what shapes courage, resilience, and character. Even as rain fell upon the marble walls of the imperial palace, his inner peace remained untouched. Marcus believed that our peace should never depend on the weather outside, but on the strength we cultivate within ourselves. Watching ancient olive trees bend with the wind without breaking, he found another lesson in nature. True strength is not always found in resistance. Sometimes it is found in flexibility, patience, and quiet endurance. Gazing into the crystal-clear waters of a mountain lake, Marcus saw the perfect reflection of the mind he hoped to build. Calm, balanced, and free from unnecessary anger, fear, or distraction. Standing before the gates of the imperial palace, he reminded himself that anyone who cannot govern their own emotions will never truly be able to lead others. Looking up at the countless stars above him, Marcus felt both humbled and inspired. The vastness of the universe reminded him how small human pride truly is. Even during violent storms at sea, he remained calm. Like a lighthouse, standing firm against crashing waves, the Stoic mind remains steady while everything around it falls into chaos. As he crossed narrow mountain paths and difficult valleys, Marcus came to understand that obstacles are not interruptions to life. They are part of life itself. Every challenge presents another opportunity to grow stronger. Each evening, as the sun disappeared beyond the horizon, he quietly reflected on the day that had passed, asking himself one simple question: did I live today with wisdom, justice, courage, and self-control? Surrounded by the warm glow of burning torches, Marcus realized that wisdom shines brightest during humanity's darkest moments. Great character is not revealed during times of comfort, but during times of struggle. Walking down the marble staircases of the palace, he never forgot that power is temporary. Thrones eventually belong to someone else, but humility leaves a legacy that outlives every empire. In the silence of quiet temples and lonely places, Marcus discovered that the loudest battle is often the one taking place inside our own minds. Mastering that inner voice became his greatest achievement. Watching snow gently cover the forests without making a sound, he admired nature's patience. Everything meaningful grows in its own time, without hurry and without fear. Standing beneath the moonlight on abandoned battlefields, Marcus reflected on the impermanence of every conflict. Every war eventually ends, but the lessons we learn from our struggles remain with us forever. Looking out from the palace balcony over the people of Rome, he smiled quietly, knowing that the true measure of a ruler is never the power they possess, but the justice, compassion, and wisdom they leave behind. It was this understanding that transformed Marcus Aurelius from a powerful emperor into one of history's greatest philosophers, whose words would continue guiding humanity for thousands of years. As the years drew to a close, Marcus Aurelius came to understand one final truth. Every sunrise is a gift, never a promise. Each new day offered another opportunity to live with wisdom, courage, and purpose. Walking through the quiet harbors of the empire, he watched ships disappear beyond the horizon and reflected on the journey of life. Just as every voyage must one day come to an end, every human life eventually reaches its final destination. Surrounded by ancient scrolls and books, Marcus continued writing the personal reflections that would later inspire millions around the world. He never wrote to impress others. He wrote to improve himself. Standing before peaceful temples, hidden among the mountains, he realized that true peace is never found in distant places. It is discovered within a disciplined mind and a grateful heart. Even inside military tents filled with maps, strategies, and impossible decisions, Marcus refused to let fear guide his actions. To him, duty was always greater than comfort. Walking among the statues of long-forgotten rulers, he was reminded that time humbles everyone. Great empires rise and fall, monuments crumble, and even the names of kings are eventually forgotten. Only virtue leaves a legacy that survives the centuries. Watching golden fields ready for harvest, Marcus smiled quietly, knowing that nature rewards patience. Just as seeds require time before they bear fruit, character is built through years of consistent effort and quiet discipline. Every ancient road he walked reminded him that each person leaves footprints behind. The question is never whether we leave a legacy, but what kind of legacy we choose to leave. Standing upon the highest mountains, Marcus accepted one of Stoicism's greatest lessons. We cannot always choose our circumstances, but we can always choose our response. Looking at statues carved in his own image, he understood that stone eventually breaks, and every symbol of power fades with time. Character, however, continues to live through the lives it inspires. In the freezing silence of the northern frontiers, Marcus discovered that true strength is not physical, but spiritual. The strongest person is the one who remains calm when everyone else loses control. As spring flowers bloomed across the empire once again, he reflected on the endless cycle of renewal. Every ending quietly prepares the way for a new beginning. Standing on an ancient bridge as the river flowed endlessly beneath him, Marcus realized that life moves forward, whether we are ready or not. Wisdom lies in moving with its current rather than resisting it. Deep inside silent temples, where nothing could be heard except his own breathing, he found answers that the noise of the world could never provide. Sometimes the greatest conversations are the ones we have with ourselves. Standing at the edge of towering cliffs above the clouds, Marcus felt no fear because he had learned to accept uncertainty as part of life itself. After every storm, the skies eventually cleared. After every hardship, new opportunities appeared. This simple truth reminded him never to lose hope, no matter how difficult life became. Walking through ancient cedar forests, he admired how the tallest trees had taken decades to grow. Greatness, he realized, is never built overnight. It is created through patience, discipline, and countless small choices repeated over time. As the sun rose over the sea one final time, Marcus welcomed another chance to become wiser than he had been yesterday. Sitting upon the imperial throne in the final years of his life, He did not measure his success by victories won or wealth accumulated. Instead, he asked himself whether he had lived with justice, humility, courage, and self-control. Nearly 2,000 years have passed since Marcus Aurelius walked the roads of ancient Rome. His empire has disappeared, his palaces have weathered with time, and the battles he fought exist only in history. Yet his wisdom continues to guide millions of people across the world. His life reminds us that the greatest victory is never over another person. It is over our own fear, anger, pride, and desire. Master your thoughts, strengthen your character, and live according to virtue, because true power begins within. As Marcus Aurelius himself taught, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. And perhaps, even today, those timeless words remain the greatest lesson any human being can ever learn.